we go.
Welcome to NC Political Tea, the show where North Carolina's political scene gets served piping hot, grassroots style. We're here to shake up the status quo with unapologetically conservative takes and a whole lot of Southern charm. From the halls of Congress to under the dome, we're exposing the deals, the drama, and the dirt that the mainstream media won't touch. Who's fighting for your freedom? Who's selling out to the woke mob? And who's about to get roasted? No fluff, no filters, and absolutely no time for spineless politics. Just bold Republican commentary, sharp analysis, and enough sass to make the left squirm. So grab your sweet tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the hottest headlines and juiciest scandals rocking the Tar Heel state. This is NC Political Tea, where the truth always gets served.
You know what I just realized?
What?
My hair was short.
I was looking at mine going, good Lord, I can't wait for my girl to get off of maternity leave on Friday.
I mean, well, okay, so if you just saw that, like the preview,
Yeah.
man, it's got us wearing glasses, you not wearing glasses, wearing glasses.
I know, I thought about that. And sometimes I wear them. It just, honestly, the glare sometimes bugs me.
Yeah. I mean, I always have to wear mine, but it's got us in different glasses, different weights. I noticed I was heavier. It's like,
different hairdo ads.
Yeah, different hairstyles. My hair was short. I mean,
It's 2026. Maybe we need to do another opener. I don't know.
It's been 2 years. Yeah, it's been 2 years. Maybe it's time for an opener. But welcome to the show. We're going to have Adam from Accuracy and Media on at the bottom half of the show. This is going to be, every time he comes on, it's fire. It's just, it makes me glad that we've got people doing this undercover work.
Well, it makes me excited to see that someone is looking out for what the people in North Carolina should be looking out for, but don't seem to want to do the work. And I'm not saying they're not doing it. I'm just saying, like, we got laws against this stuff.
Well, we do. So we're going to talk about some of the DEI stuff that he's flagging here. But look, every single time that we have a show, we have to talk about illegal aliens in North Carolina, in your backyard. Killing people. You're
going to make me cry.
It is, well, yeah, but we heard over the weekend. Actually, I'm very pleased with the FBI. I have to tell you, I'm at 10 Most Wanted. They have gotten 5 of them in the last less than a year. But one of them was this Alejandro Rosales Castillo was added to the 10 Most Wanted list in 2017. He murdered a 23-year-old woman. Body was found ripped to shreds in Cabarrus County, which, if you don't know, is the neighboring county. This is that piece of human garbage. This is a 23-year-old Angel who was viciously murdered in Charlotte. Apparently, he owed her money, told her that he's going to meet up with her to pay her, never found again.
Yeah, I know you probably may not have this latest story too. That one was savage. I'm glad the FBI has taken care of that situation. That doesn't really help the family, but we also had this one is just tragic. Fletcher and his girlfriend Lizzie were coming home Friday night. He was a soccer player at Catawba College, and they were struck by an illegal alien on retainer who got DUI, and now he's got a felony.
Her name's Skylar Provenza, 19-year-old, beautiful girl.
Skylar, I'm sorry, it's Lizzie.
Perfect couple. Just somebody you'd want your son and daughter to grow up into.
19 and I think 20, right?
Yeah. This is what you want for your children, to have a loving relationship at that age. In Hickory, this happened. This is
it's heartbreaking.
If Joe Biden's open border policy and the Democrats, we're going to show you tonight, the Democrats loving arms. Well, we see it in Minnesota. They're loving arms to illegals. If this guy had not been in this country illegally, this would have never happened. And these 2 beautiful lives, they would still be with us today.
And that poor young lady, in Cabarrus County, it's countless victims, whether they're children, women, elderly. it's disgusting, and it has to stop. And I really want to go to Durham, I think, or Orange County, wherever that Nilla lady is, and beat her ass. I just do. I'm sorry, but her tracking ICE all over North Carolina when people like this are being killed makes me sick.
We have a radical far left Islamist who's running to beat Valerie Fouché in the primary, and we're going to cover that, and it's ridiculous. But we remember that we covered Amber Paris, beautiful 15-year-old little child. She was 15 years old, run over and died while still on life support. And Charlotte prosecutors asked for the charges to be dropped against this illegal as she was on life support. Sarah Kidd was the ADA responsible, and Spencer Merriweather was the elected DA that this happened under. These are Democrats. And I'm telling you, the fact that this is politicized is dangerous for the whole country. This is another one we talked about just last week.
Yeah.
Sex or children, for God's sakes, beating women, battery of an unborn child, sex offense with a child. This is another one in Charlotte. We previewed this yesterday.
Teenagers.
Killed 2 more teenagers. So these are decisions that are made by Democrats.
Well, and I hope North Carolinians are waking up to the fact that if you want law and order in this state, you're going to have to start voting Republican. Even if you don't want to, you need to. And we need to have Sarah Stevens all the way down from the Supreme Court, North Carolina Supreme Court down. You must vote Republican. Sarah Stevens, Michael Burns, get on down that list. Craig Collins. Those are the 3 that I can think of off the top of my head that are going to be on every ballot.
The judges are important, but look, I realize it's a bold statement for me to say this is the Democrats' policies, but as evidence, you've got Carla Cunningham, who is a long-serving representative in Mecklenburg County. She actually voted with the Republicans to make it lawful for the sheriff there to cooperate with ICE. They're trying to primary. The leaders of the Democrat Party and the governor
trying to primary her. And the press is even going after her for them.
Oh, yeah, trying to take her out of office. So when we tell you that, we're not saying every Democrat wants illegals in this state. I bet a bunch of them don't. But if they come up like Carla Cunningham and they stand with Republicans for total common sense legislation, they'll be run out of the party. So what does that tell you?
And also, let's just talk about the 2 sides of his mouth that Josh Stein talks out of. He talks about safety and making sure everybody's safe, but he vetoes laws about safety.
Oh, well, we're going to talk about another fella.
Oh, that guy.
This guy. Let me tell you, in 2019 and 2022, he vetoed 2 bills, House Bill 370 and similar measures that would require sheriffs to honor ICE detainers and hold immigrants for federal authorities. He wrote, these are meant to divide. And then in 2024, he did it again with HB 10.
Yeah.
Okay. So he vetoed a bill that would require. So in other words, we've had sheriffs on this show before, and they have said, look, when you release a prisoner back out, okay, it is so freaking dangerous for ICE to we've seen it. It's dangerous for ICE to capture them if they're not in jail. So you're endangering the whole public. That's what Democrats want. We're showing you.
Absolutely, that's what they want, and they're making no bones about it. They're literally showing you what they want by marching against ICE in Asheville and in Raleigh, and like this is not the North Carolina that we want for our children, our elderly, and for ourselves.
What a monster! I'm going to ask you guys. What if this were your daughter or your son, and if not for an illegal drunk driver, they would be alive today? You would go to their wedding, you would be their grandparent, you would raise their grandchildren. What if this happened to you? Because this is Hickory. We talked about cases in Charlotte. We've talked about cases in damn near every single county. If not for these illegals being here, hundreds of North Carolinians would be alive today.
it's not just alive. I have to ask a couple questions. How are they getting insurance? Don't they have to prove that that's like why are we allowing them to get driver's licenses and we don't check this on their insurance to see if they're Americans? I got questions.
I have, we are talking about this because it is important. This man happens to be
in every state, every county.
Yeah, this man happens to be running for Senate, and I got to tell you, if we are supporting another candidate in this. Obviously, we're supporting the Republican in this race. We're supporting Don Brown, but look, this is what we're up against. And if you're if you're a voter that doesn't vote very often in primaries, or you don't vote very often actually in the general for the midterms, this is what's on the ballot. This is what's on the ballot. This is what we have got to fight against. So I just have to present that to you. I pulled this up from ChatGPT, which leans left. This is what they say about Roy Cooper, who's going to be on the ballot for Senate, guys, about his positions. He opposes, sanctuary.
None of this is surprising.
Okay, so he supports sanctuary cities. He said North Carolina he supports a sanctuary state. He says, he says it's a welcoming state, and that opposing, laws like the ICE law, whatever, it stigmatizes immigrants. He believes that immigration enforcement should be federal responsibility, no local cooperation obligation. Man, and he wants protection. He wants full carte blanche for every anchor baby, for everyone that's been in this country. This is your candidate, Roy Cooper. So I'm telling you, people are dying.
And he also wants dreamers, which are not citizens, to get citizenship, which I don't agree with. But let's really talk about what he did, Sloan. Let's talk about his task force, because those are his policies, but we saw what he did.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a racial equity task force on crime, no money bail, treating repeat violent crime as mental health problems.
It's not just that. He also, when he was leaving the governorship, he pardoned a bunch of people. 2 of them were double murders, meaning they had gotten
not moonshine. I don't want to hear any gossip.
That's your Skittles. I know it is.
It's my Skittles water.
So he pardoned people that had been put in prison, released because they murdered someone. They were back in prison, and he gave them clemency. Like, this guy is bad. He's just bad. He's done a lot of things like that we know are just bad for North Carolina.
Oh, he will. He will continue.
Of course.
Yeah. So we're going to switch gears right now and talk about a very exciting program. I think all of that Trump has got, and it's this federal policy of Virginia just became the first state in the country to opt into a brand new federal school choice program. It's going to reshape the whole country, and it's a federal education freedom tax. So the way it works is there's donors that get $1,700 in a federal tax break. So it's private money, right? You can opt in.
Mm-hmm.
And the dollar for dollar, the feds will match it. Get this. I'm so excited about this. Let me tell you what you can use this for. You can use it for tutoring, special needs classes, private school, and homeschool. So if you put in $1,700 to state, run, or not state run, but approved scholarship organizations, the feds can match it and you can use it. And these scholarship organizations can make it even more. If a family needs 10,000, they can do 10,000. Now you may be saying, because I know you're saying, well, Sloan, we've already got a program here, Opportunity Scholarship, and it's pretty good and it covers everything. But this is over and up. Well, you know what? There's somebody in the audience, some avatar is saying that. But look, these are the states like ours with the universal school choice. This can be used over and above, and that satisfies your frequent criticism.
That's where I'm going.
I know you.
Yeah. And you're right, because that's the first thing I thought of is opportunity scholarships in North Carolina don't cover homeschooling. And now you got something that does, but it doesn't equal the same amount as an opportunity scholarship in North Carolina. So we got to figure out how to do that.
Well, a lot of homeschoolers will say, look, I'm not taking tax dollars. And I get it. They're not taking tax dollars because the government has a say. This is private money.
Right. Any money, any free money is good
This is
money.
this is you get to keep. Yeah, you get to keep $1,700 of your tax money and do with what you have fit. So I really I like this program. The Virginia governor is the first one to roll it out, and I'm pretty
I'm
high on
surprised
it.
that Spanberger didn't repeal it the first thing she did.
Well, here's the way it works. It doesn't go through the legislature. You're right, and the governor opts in. But I think this is one of those policies where, or programs where, if you are a Democrat and you opted out, well, you don't give a damn if you're a Democrat, right, about upsetting people.
Correct.
So I may stand corrected, right?
Well, let's just hold tight. Maybe she didn't do anything yet. She's got a lot of other things she repealed already.
Well, that's an illustrative case of you get what you voted for, because in Virginia, they damn flipped a switch to full-term abortion, to
They still have to, right. They still have to run that through the legislature one more time and put it on a constitutional amendment. But yes, they did the first run of that. But the taxes, the outrageous amount of taxes she signed in the first day is just unbelievable.
Now, I remember hearing she's a moderate Democrat. There are very few of those.
There's no such thing as a moderate Democrat anymore.
See, the way it works in Virginia is this. Virginia is different from North Carolina in that the governor has the lion's share control of what happens. Education, all of it.
Well, it used to be that way here, but we got smart.
Very well, actually, there's always been a council of state here.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the governor had more control over commissions and appointments.
Yes.
And we're taking those away from him. We took the election board away.
Well, we're just rebalancing separation of powers.
Correct.
And executive power. So
correct. But Virginia's scary because they border us, and the radical things that happen on the first day really show you what could happen in North Carolina.
It shows you what will happen. We have been detailing 5 bills, just 5, that, I mean, they're already written, they're ready to go, that show you they want to rescind parental rights. Democrats want to see to it that illegals and gangs can hide in churches, in schools, and hospitals. And I was telling actually the GOP chair that today. We had a discussion, the vice chair, and she said, that sounds like what Hamas does. I said, yeah, you got a point there. Is you're saddling the most vulnerable population, putting them at risk.
Yeah. It's just really sad that a lot of North Carolinians don't know what goes on at the legislature, which is why we do this show. And we broadcast it and put it out on Facebook, and we want you to share it with your friends who don't have time to watch the news about that.
We will break it out. We will break it out and break it down for you. And that's what I did. That's what I did in this piece today, is you and I have been talking about the audits that DHHS here have failed. And so I put it in one cohesive piece so that everybody knows that North Carolina's DHHS is not underfunded. It's failing while it's flush with cash. Let's start with this. $386 million. 386 million in unspent salary funds in 1 year. So
unfulfilled headcount too.
That's right. So money's approved for intake workers, processors, inspectors, and the funds lapsed instead of being used. And you're right. They're complaining. Democrats are saying, we don't have the money to fund these positions. Well, the auditor of the state found out different, and I want these people drug in for a hearing. Josh Stein, this is an agency that's right under his command and control. He hires everybody for the lead positions. He's failing.
Well, I think the other part of it is Roy Cooper made a big to-do about he's going to fill 300,000 jobs in the state. He said that before he left. And here we have all this money and nothing's been filled. They haven't filled those jobs, and they were all around Medicaid expansion. That's what he talked about.
Oh, well, we're going to get to that, because Medicaid expansion is a runaway train, and the General Assembly has no way to stop it. No, there's no way to cap it. Is it 700,000? We were told 600,000. Republicans did that.
Well,
so,
is there a way to cap it if the Fed say we're not giving you any more money?
Oh, well, the Feds just bust a cap in their ass on that one.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what we knew. What we told them it was going to happen.
Well, I know, but they, they're starting to listen. But so look, after this compliance failure, the auditor came up with the required lapse reports. So they haven't done reports, filed an average of 296 days late every year since 2017. Now, why this matters. So we're going to talk about this Medicaid expansion. The costs are up to $14.3 billion in 2 years, 66% increase in Medicaid expansion. This is to the working well, you guys, people that are like in the middle. A lot of people don't even have to work. There's no requirement. The agency is growing, not shrinking, yet the core services are breaking in two. And
we know for a fact they have a lot of overpayment errors. Like that's the biggest deal that we know in North Carolina.
I don't even know that I covered that because I wrote that on Friday to publish. But that's another one.
Yeah. We're over 10% error in overpayment.
Right. Now they did, meaning DHHS recently came in and said, hey, we're going to get that error rate down to 6%.
Federally, they have to get it down to 10. We're at 12. So that they got some room. If they go down to 6, they're going to cut it in half. Let's see it. That'd be funny.
Lots of fraud in Medicaid, and that's what I'm going to be reporting on next. But so North Carolina didn't underfund the health agency. It funded it and then failed to deliver results. Now, most people that are on Medicaid, believe it or not, most services are for children and nearing the elderly, right? That's what Jewish people call a shanda.
Well, I don't know what that means.
A shanda, it means a real crying shame.
Yeah.
Yiddish. Shanda. So it's bad. So anyway, here's the one that you and I have been talking about for a long time. Let's talk about the medical board.
Good topic.
Without losing my shit here. This is another board that I think has 12 people on it total. But the main thing is Republicans only get 2 picks and the governor gets 10 or more.
Yeah. So you can kind of guess it's very liberal.
Oh, yeah. In North Carolina, Medicaid kept paying doctors that the medical board and the state knew were dangerous, even after they were flagged, restricted, or banned. We've told you, doctors were coming in. Remember the laughing gas? We're going to tell you again.
Exactly. That's why I started laughing. I'm like, this is laughing gas doctor.
Yeah, doctors were coming to work, and I don't know how this works, with literally nitrous oxide, like huffing on nitrous oxide before going to work, and had to have them some, and took a whole damn can of nitrous oxide to work with them
in the car, and wrecked.
Kept huffing on it, wrecked, and basically got a slap on the wrist.
Well, I think the one that's most egregious to me is the one where the medical board said you can't have any women contact. You can't have any women in the room. You can't even have women nurses, basically. And he was still practicing and doing it.
Well, this physician was barred from treating women convicted for sex crimes. He still saw 21 female patients after. So the medical board actually did, in this case, sanction. And DHHS let them keep practicing. Medicaid paid $7,300 in 2023 to this guy, and prior $75,000 in fraud repayment. Another example. This is where patient safety is really affected. Alcohol abuse restrictions were ignored, and payments were made. Controlled substances provided without DEA verification. For God's sakes, one provider even pled guilty to federal drug crimes. DHHS is allowing them to not only practice, but be paid.
And keep their license. Just like not even put their license on suspend.
Well, the licensing is at the medical board, but the medical board is different from DHHS. So these are the ones, Margo, if you can believe, that the medical board actually came in and flagged them and said, "You're suspended."
Ixnay.
Then their bold ass still went into the exam room, still practiced, and guess what? DHHS, with them having a flagged license, still kept paying them.
Yeah, not surprised. I'm very disgusted at what I see state employees do, from letting illegals get licenses to letting illegals get notaries to this.
It's a mess. The nursing home stuff was very heartbreaking, where families would report to DHHS that their loved ones are being abused, and it would take either up to 8 months to get contacted back, or their complaints would, in their words, vanish into a black hole. Once again, staffing was blamed despite unspent staffing funds. So we have a real problem here. And the person that perpetrated this or is over this is the governor. The governor.
Ultimately.
The governor's ultimately over this. And I think what we need to do is we need to immediately have some hearings. Now, I'm only going to bring this up very quickly because it has been taken off wild, and we've offered to do something about this. So not him. Actually, something is going to be done on that, which is going to be good. But this. So yes, and we brought this up a couple of times. So yesterday, the news came out that Josh Shapiro, who was Kamala Harris's one of the contenders to be vice president, was queried by her staff about being an Israeli spy. Now,
what?
But they didn't. But to my understanding, is they didn't question Walsh about being a
Chinese spy.
Chinese spy, or having a predilection to fraud, for that matter, as we see
Right.
now, is problematic. But using a very anti-Semitic line of questioning. So I put this up yesterday, and I'm telling you, I have received massive inquiries, and you and I are going to do a seminar on how to fight back, suing for defamation, which is extremely grueling and hard to do as a public figure, right? I've done it. I have, to an extent, succeeded. But this is a blogger and a stalker that we have talked about before, who, made a lot of allegations, and you can do it. You can fight back. Legally is the last way you want to do it, because it's not fun.
I don't know that person. I've never met her, but she seems to have a predilection for anybody that's your friend, or that works with you, or that knows you.
Well, look at her, and
she's definitely not part of the club.
Definitely not. But I will tell you guys that, in fact, I had a podcast with a Christian podcaster today. I think it'll air tonight. But I said, you know what? It's just, and I don't know if you feel this way, but I think you might. To do this line of work, you have to believe that God drives it, because we don't make any money.
No,
we're not. Certainly not after. We're not. You go look at our Twitter. You go look at my Twitter feed. Go look at Margot's. You tell us if we're trying to be liked.
Oh no,
we are not trying to win.
No, that's not what I do.
It has to be. Like, why would we tolerate lawfare being stalked? I'm talking about both of us.
Because listen, the truth matters to me, and telling the truth should not cross these people's the buttons that it pushes when you say the guy's a pedophile or a child rapist in NC1 and you should want to do better. The fact that pushes some dude's button so bad that he literally threatens to kill me, or the fact that some guy wants to ask for money every day on my posts about Western North Carolina during Helene, creates this crazy rabid woman I've never met to become a flourishing stalker is unbelievable. Carrie Donovan is another example. I don't know any of these people, and they've all threatened to do things besides kill me, reach out to a plaintiff's attorney. Once they said all this crazy stuff. And I don't do it for any reason. Then I feel like people need to know the truth.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, if you do not believe that you're doing this for a higher purpose, you will never make it in this business because it is full of kicks in the teeth and hard times and lawsuits
crazy people.
stalking. And so I'm kind of, you know, me, after October 7th, I started to doubt
You did.
my belief. But I'm starting to think the only thing that could keep us in this business after this long and this much bullshit we have to believe that God is ordering our steps in doing this. I'm serious. And I'm not an ultra religious person. Y'all know that.
Well,
but anyway,
here's my thing. I feel like my local community deserves to know when somebody isn't who they say they are. Or if they have a criminal record, everyone should know they have one. Even if they want to deny they pled guilty to a felony.
Well, if you're up for elected officer in the GOP, people deserve to know who they're voting for. But anyway, I digress. But, you know, somebody that's equally devoted to this and has gone through hell and high water and done so from behind a camera is our friend Adam with Accuracy in Media. Do you relate to anything we were just talking about?
Oh my gosh, when you talk about lawfare, I'm currently dealing with 3 suits, 2 from rich, spoiled brat Columbia University kids who realized that they couldn't beat us in the courtroom of ideas. So instead, they've got wealthy mom and dad who sue us for defamation, even though they know it'll likely be dismissed, but it cost us more than it cost them. You know, I've been swatted 13 times. I spent a year getting death threats all day, every day. I usually have to bring off-duty cops when I go to college campuses. Yep. So yes, I can relate.
Wow, Adam, you are a one-upper, aren't you?
I do a fantastic job of making bad people want to kill me. If that's a one-upping, I guess so.
I think one other thing, Adam, I think you should help us sponsor an anti-SLAPP law in North Carolina when you get some time. I'm not busy or anything.
I didn't realize North Carolina didn't have an anti-SLAPP law.
You don't.
Can you explain what that is right quick, just for viewers that may not know that?
Sure. Most states, to my knowledge, have an anti-SLAPP law. And what that enables you to do is if you get essentially basically a frivolous defamation lawsuit against you when you're exercising your free speech rights that are protected by the First Amendment, this basically kind of shoots it down pretty quickly. And it saves you a ton of money and a ton of cash. You know, I'm a big fan of tort reform. I'm a big fan of a loser pays legal system. But if we're not going to have those sorts of things, an anti-SLAPP law is at least one little Band-Aid on a broken system.
Yeah. And North Carolina does not have that because we have too many lawyers in our legislature who like to pocket the cash.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it definitely tort reform might be something that we're really going to focus on. But anyway, you know, especially in your line of work, because you're doing anytime, guys, that you're doing investigation work, like on this show, we do mainly punditry, but investigation work requires a level of lawyers looking over your stuff because it's original production. So I have to give kudos to you, but I have to report something. Good news. We broke a story together on Thursday, and within 15 minutes, Brendan Jones, who is head of the real bulldog here in North Carolina, head of the oversight committee, he said that he was sending an email and a request to appear in front of his committee to the lovely people in the Winston-Salem government. And we're going to show what happened.
Delighted to hear that.
Yes. So
absolutely delighted.
I'm thrilled, actually. This is what happened in Winston-Salem. This is what you guys just dropped. We're going to also talk about North Carolina A&T and then also the Western North Carolina story, which Margot, that's like saying A Clockwork Orange to Margot because she gets very triggered by that. So, okay, let's see this one now.
We here in the city are lucky in that we have city management, city leadership that supports DEI. Although I will share with you that like most places, we're looking at alternative terminology because as I said, it's not the words that count, it's the work.
Okay.
Who was that?
What?
I forget the job title because they change them every 5 minutes ever since DEI has been banned. If you want a get-rich-quick scheme, get in the business card business. I bet some of these people in your state who changed their job title twice in 1 year simply to get ahead of this. And she laid out the game plan. All you've got to do is change the titles, change the verbiage, and then you can continue doing the exact same work. You see it in city governments just as you see it in universities across the Tar Heel state.
Yeah, she looks like she's got a couple cats and was a librarian at once.
Well, the funniest part, she went on to rant later with her conspiracy theories about how we were going to be in Handmaid's Tale times, where she tells her friends that better make don't be surprised if one day you go to your ATM and you can't withdraw money because you're a woman. And I always wonder, there is a Handmaid's Tale time, right? Yeah. Oh well.
But it's because I'm short on money, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But right now in Iran, there are women living in that Handmaid's Tale time. Does the left rise up and speak out against it?
No.
Right now in Iran, people were being slaughtered. Where are those college kids who threatened me death because I didn't like them supporting Hamas? They're all quite quiet as well. There's literally the dystopia that this woman seems to dream of occurring in Iran, but she's quiet about that. All of her problems are with America.
I bet you $100 she's not even from North Carolina on top of that. No, seriously.
That makes Margot mad as hell. Anyone not from North Carolina
taken over by people that are not from here.
Sure.
Because they're changing the culture, Adam.
Unquestionably. I'm a Floridian, and we get, people, I think in the time I started the sentence, 100 people just moved here. But we're very, very fortunate in that the majority of the folks who move here do so for the right reason. I feared during the pandemic that people wouldn't be moving here for politics. They'd be moving here for remote work and a cheaper house. And even then, we became an even freer state. I think we're the greatest state now in American history. And you guys got some better leadership in your state house and state senate, and maybe got a better governor. I think you guys can head in that direction too, I hope.
Yeah,
you waiting to I'm worried about what's going to happen to our state and to Florida, because all my family lives in Florida and we're the last holdouts. But what's going to happen with Mondani and the exile, if you will, from New York.
Yeah, my property values, I'm watching them go up on Zillow like you're watching the debt count go up. My gosh, it's crazy. Ooh. If all I knew is we had to elect a socialist in New York, my property values could go up even more. I would have done it sooner. It reminded me of when Rick Scott, when he was governor, went to Connecticut and campaigned for a tax increase that Ned Lamont, the governor of Connecticut, was pushing. He said, I think it's going to be great for Florida business. You guys should absolutely do it. If these states want to commit financial suicide, and apologies, if universities in North Carolina want to obsess over DEI in defiance of state Board of Regents ban, in defiance of an executive order, us as Floridians will benefit. Each year our universities are climbing in the charts. University of Florida is where I went, is up to number 7, the 7th best public university. Well, he's got to be very smart to get in. I couldn't get in these days. But Florida universities are getting better because they're taking real action against this nonsense, and they're focusing on actual education. North Carolina universities have a long way to go. And since we released that first round of videos, we've actually revisited many of those universities, and some of them are still up to the same tricks.
The sad part is there used to be North Carolina has the oldest one of the oldest public universities. Yeah. And we used to have we were the star in education, and now we've dropped to 48th in public education. Our universities are still a good deal, but they're not where they used to be. And it's sad to see you show us why they're not, because they've got these woke monsters in there doing idiotic things.
That's right. And not to say Florida universities are perfect. We released several investigations from our state recently, with more to come, despite it being a 2-party consent state for hidden camera recording, which makes it tricky. But, unfortunately for our investigators, your state has been like shooting fish in a barrel. And it's important for viewers to know that when our investigators visit these universities, when they visit the city of Winston-Salem, these local government folks, they're not there for months on end earning trust. They walk right in, and these people immediately brag about how they're breaking the law. The woman you saw in that video, our investigator met her for maybe 2 minutes before she started bragging about how they're simply changing the verbiage, changing the titles, changing the wording to continue doing the exact same thing, because that's what their city is so focused on. Every time they want to raise your taxes in a local government, they say, oh, if we don't have this tax increase, we're not going to have police officers or schools. We're not going to have roads. Yeah. Then you look at how they're spending it, and they're spending it on political activism nonsense.
I wonder what our labor commissioner could do about that, Sloan.
We'll have him on. Trust me. So the next one is from Western North Carolina. I decided to sandwich this one in the middle, Margot, just like you are.
I'd lose my mind.
She loses. So let's watch this little snippet.
You just changed maybe or got creative with some of the.
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, this is A&T. So I'm saving the best for last. Okay, ready? This is NC A&T. All right. Whoops. All right. Sorry. Guys, I'm sorry.
Or got creative with some of the language to get
Yes.
around the legislation?
And it's not even to get around the legislation.
Yeah.
So what the legislation is it's giving us, I want to say it's 11 rules for what we can and cannot say when we are speaking on behalf of the university.
Okay.
And so some universities like Charlotte have taken that and said, these positions can't function with these rules in place, so we're just going to get rid of them.
Okay.
Every other public university has said they can function. We're just going to, try to shield ourselves from litigation.
Just appease the politicians, if you will.
Yes, it's so vague.
Okay, another language game. What is happening?
A lot of times I think these laws and these rules are purposefully made vague because many times, maybe I'm a cynic, I don't think these politicians are interested in solving problems. They're interested in virtue signaling to us, patting themselves on the back, claiming they solved the problem, and moving on to something else. So they write these things as vague. They create no reporting mechanisms for breaking the law. They create no penalties for breaking the law because that's not their goal. Their goal is merely to run for re-election and say, hey, look what I did. That's why you don't see all of them running and screaming as soon as our videos come out showing that their laws are broken. Some good ones do, and I appreciate it. We've seen many attorney generals get active.
Yeah.
Yeah. In North Carolina, you had a couple of folks who spoke out, which I loved seeing. But what good are your laws? What good are your rules if they're so readily ignored everywhere?
Well,
yeah, they're obsessed with the language. Have you noticed that? It's like, that's like the magic wand changing the language, right? Is that
ironic?
Yeah.
How ironic they're obsessed with the language, but they like to use the language against the right.
These
ironic.
are the same people who tell us that, words are violence, yet when they literally take over buildings and hold janitors hostage, those are free speech rights. It truly is the truly distorted times. But these are the kinds of radicals that we're dealing with. People think that fascism is one thing that it really isn't. Mussolini defined fascism as everything within the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. And that meant if you had a stamp club when the Nazis took over, well, it was now a Nazi stamp club. If you were in the Scouts are gone. We've got Hitler Youth instead. They took over every institution and made it exist to serve their political purpose. That's what they're doing with your local governments. That's what they're doing with your universities. That's what they're trying to do with every facet of government, is make it work in service of their radical ideology.
It's not government. It's not just government. They're doing it in churches. The one thing that people are not paying attention to is how far left churches have gone too. It's not, it's schools, churches, medicine, everywhere.
Synagogues were way ahead of you, sister.
It's true.
It's true. It was like the Democrat Party with Jewish holidays.
Yeah, I grew up going to a conservative synagogue in Central Jersey. And Central Jersey isn't as lefty as the rest of Jersey, but our synagogue wasn't exactly full of Ronald Reagan lovers.
Right. Yeah. Conservative is now reform, is now reconstructionist. But unless you're Jewish, you wouldn't understand. But I digress, because we get into Jewish issues, and then that's my trigger right there. So let me see. I'm on this.
The last one.
Here's your, so get ready to be angry, because here you go. Wait a second. All right, y'all, just to prove that this show isn't AI generated, because we're perfect typically, I will inject some mistakes just so that you guys know. So that was
catch us.
Mistake number, just so you know.
Diversity, equity, inclusiveness,
I can't see it.
Really across, like every area should have responsibility for that. Like it shouldn't just be like an office or a figurehead.
Yeah.
But definitely agricultural affairs supports the broader programming and
if you embed it, then it can't be legislative.
There you go. There you go. Now you're understanding the strategy behind what it is.
So the work is still occurring very much here at Western. You just might see it called different things.
I don't even want to piss people off, but I think what it comes down to though is just making sure that we're able to do the work.
Okay. So
what is Karen Price's title?
Currently, I think her LinkedIn profile says unemployed.
Oh,
at the time, I think I forget what it was at that university. She had a pretty significant position. It wasn't an entry-level staffer. And as you can see, our investigator has been to so many places. We know the verbiage they use. So she'll even kind of feed it back to them and they'll say, oh, yeah, you're getting it exactly. We're embedding it. Because what they did at these universities is they essentially had a DEI staffer for every college, for every department, so that every college and every department was focused on making DEI part of what they were doing. So it wasn't about having one person who had the DEI job, but rather embedding it into every facet of education, just like they embedded the critical race theory principles into every facet of K through 12 education. And she's right when she says, then you can't legislate it out because it's baked in.
But you know what's weird about that, Adam? And I'm just going to speak I live in Western North Carolina, right? There is not a high propensity of Black population, or even, I would say there's a higher population of Latinos than there is Black population here. So for you to carve out and make specific numbers means you have to bring them from somewhere else, which means someone here locally doesn't get a spot.
Well, when they're talking about DEI, they're not usually talking about quotas or affirmative action.
Oh, yeah, they are.
To them, DEI is a prison through which they see the world, with oppressors and oppressed, and white people are evil oppressors. Americans are oppressors.
Straight and gay. So I've seen this because I reported on education for several years. They're also saying, okay, let's take a population that's very rural and maybe 4% Black population overall in the schools. But they're using DEI as a vehicle to inject and inculcate
leftist ideology.
Yeah, well, I mean, trans acceptance. Not only trans acceptance, but experimentation into that, making it a counterculture that students want to dabble in, right? And they don't really know what they're doing. So it's also used as it's like the ultimate peer pressure tool. And it's not only color-based. I mean, you can inject a lot of cultural deviancy using DEI as that vehicle. They injected it into healthcare. I want you guys to know that the report I've done on transing children is done as a DEI policy at ECU. Yes, that's right. So diagnosing children that come in with colic, telling their parents, it's not colic, it's something we called gender dysphoria. And see, only we can, it is evil. That's part of DEI.
Yeah, I think the other part that I've seen, Eric, Adam, just to talk about Western specifically, as I had a student recently tell me that they had to do a report or a story or something. They were told specifically in writing, no conservative research could be used at all. They could not use Fox News. They could not use any conservative journalists, none.
Yeah. I mean, that's typical for what we see. And for those who don't quite understand this whole DEI critical race theory thing, what it means, where it comes from, after the Soviet Union collapsed, the Marxists studied that loss and realized they were never going to get Americans to buy into communism because we have class mobility. They couldn't pick classes against one another. So instead, they try to find aggrieved groups of people or convince people that they've been oppressed and that the world's against them, and explain to them that all these problems are caused by capitalism. So they literally pit groups against one another by saying all these problems you're having, that's because of capitalism. And capitalism is systemically racist. They teach this as early as kindergarten. And that America, they teach, is inherently racist. And the only way to get around this systemic racism and this inherent racism is to advance these DEI policies, is to judge people entirely by the color of their skin. This is the kind of warped stuff they teach as early as kindergarten in North Carolina.
Yeah, and to treat implicit bias. So, you have some sort of original sin that you come to it. And look, as Jewish people and now as Zionist Christians, I recognize it right away as the model to imprint, anti-Semitism. And I always told, my Black friends, and they knew it, that this is just a pendulum. So it's the white man now, it's the Jew later, and now we see it in Christian Zionism, et cetera. So it's a political tool, as we've identified. This is probably a bit more than we're supposed to talk about, but it can be used on the right. It can be used as it's a weapon in anyone's hands. And what you're doing is exposing that it's being used institutionally. What you did before and you're so notorious for is, exposing this on campus and how it has real life consequences. I want to tell you this, by the way, because I'm so upset about it. Before I came on air, a very prominent rabbi called me out of the blue. And when when a rabbi calls you this prominent, you take the call, right? I took the call, and he told me about a young man at Yale. We may need your help, Adam, actually. He's a Christian from North Carolina, and he's the school's chapter leader for Kufi. He has 2 semesters left at Yale, and he is about to quit and come home because these pro-Hamas students have bullied him. I don't want to say bully, harassed him to a point where it's affecting other things. So using that same oppressor and oppressed model, going after Christians, which is the ultimate target, right? Because there's more of them. And so we've seen that this is being used, all over. And I told this rabbi, I said, you can hold me personally accountable for putting an end to this. So I've put Sloan Rackmus imprimatur on the solution to this problem, and anyone that's in the way of my lawful solution, I feel sorry for you. I feel very sorry for you. But this is exactly what's happening to Christians and Jews and anyone that's out of the proscribed DEI preferred.
These monsters essentially do away with the golden rule. We view the golden rule as do unto others as others would do unto you. Yeah. They, again, in kindergartners in North Carolina are being taught, no, that's not the real right or wrong, because if you do violence against an oppressor, well, that's okay. That's merely resistance to oppression. And everything should be judged, whether it's violence or a good thing or a bad thing, must all be judged through the prism of oppressor and oppressed. How you treat someone, whether or not your actions are moral, aren't based on the actions themselves, violence or a hug, but rather based on whether you're oppressed and whether they're an oppressor. That is the kind of perverted nonsense that is associated with DEI, critical race theory, that is taught in North Carolina schools, in elementary schools. That's what they're doing to a generation of children.
It's anti-Western values.
Yes, wholeheartedly.
It's also, it reminds me, Sloan, of Peyton McNabb when she went off to Western Carolina. If you're not familiar with her, Adam, she's the one that stood up for women in sports. She was hit in the head with a trans athlete, has a neurological, in volleyball, has a neurological issue. She goes off to Western Carolina, goes into a bathroom, and there's a guy dressed as a girl in there, and she's like, "What are you doing in here?" They sue her. They sue her under Title IX. She wins. And then they say, you can't come back on our campus to her.
Again, their morality is she's an oppressor and they're oppressed. So whatever their actions are that they do against her, it's merely resistance to oppression. Like, that's the prism that these DEI staffers essentially teach. That is the nonsense they want embedded in your local government.
Dehumanization. So you're dehumanizing, you're stripping someone of their humanity because they fit into this class or this particular class. So again, this is a weapon, a lethal weapon of the soul. So when we talk about DEI, guys, don't yawn. Don't say, that's yesterday news. It is
not
stripping of the soul. And we have seen this. We have fought against this. And Adam, this is what
families. It ruins families because they're indoctrinated with it. I personally know that.
That's right. These people are the enemies of the individual. Mamdani talks about rugged individualism. These people hate any kind of individualism. They don't believe in individual rights. They only believe in group rights. They don't believe in viewing somebody as an individual. They only believe in viewing them based on their group status. They're inherently good or inherently bad based on whether or not they're from an oppressed class or an oppressor class. It's sick.
But the guilt that they put on some classes, or you can't change your skin color. Let's just be on it. You can't. For my kid to feel, and I'm not talking about my kid really, I'm just saying in hypothetically, my kid to feel guilty because they're white, because another child is not, that's crazy talk to me.
And to similarly or conversely tell a child that the world's against them, everybody's out to get him. That's disgusting.
Right. If you're a black child, that's the ultimate form of racism. We've done reports on teachers that walk in and say, half the class is black, and literally saying this out loud. Did you know that these children will never succeed? Therefore, we're going to dumb the class down. I mean, we've heard of dozens of cases like that. I cannot think of anything more racist than acting in that way.
Exactly.
And of course, let's remember, they don't define racism the way we and the way normal people define racism. They view racism as a concept, as a construct within society. And as a result, they think it's impossible to be racist against white people. It's impossible to be racist against Jews, because racism, in their opinion, isn't viewing somebody as of an inherently inferior status, but rather racism is a system created by capitalism and our patriarchal structure that works against oppressed classes. That's how they define racism. So it's something that can never go away, and it's something that can only be used against certain people and not others. That's, again, what's associated with DEI, what they're teaching your kindergartners.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Exactly. And we'll close with this because I want to keep putting this front and center to everyone. I have to say, I'm not a political person, believe it or not. But unfortunately, in this country, it has come to the point where one party is fighting this and one party is demonstrably for pushing more of it. That is not good for the country, but that's where we are. We have told you guys about 5 bills that the Democrats actually in this state are pushing. They're drafted. They're ready to go out of them. They're on the shelf. So if we lose control of the House here, we're going to see like what happened in Virginia, where the parental rights bill that we have right now, they have an anti-parental rights bill literally written and ready to go if we lose this election. If you don't believe me, y'all read stories of what is happening in Virginia. No sooner than she was sworn into governor, Abigail,
everything.
I mean, turn that place upside down. So we've got a legislature here, Adam, that has taken action on your reports, and we need to keep it that way. They are, to their credit, this isn't a law here in North Carolina. I wanted to let you guys in on that. It's not passed yet. It's going to, but it's not passed. So they're doing it just on the federal EO, okay? But they're doing it, and we need more of it.
Absolutely. And if you're going to have trustees who are going to oversee these universities, they should be following the rules associated with it. If you're going to have a local government that's getting federal funds, they should be adhering to federal executive orders. Otherwise, with a night like DEI, you stand at a good chance of getting your federal funds stripped away from your community. Think about that if you live in Winston-Salem or any of the many other cities in North Carolina we're going to be releasing investigations from.
Oh, I hope you do a lot of them.
We have many coming. We need more days in the week to release them.
We need your website and how to support your work. And everybody, you've got to follow these guys on X, fabulous account, and you're going to be updated and you're going to be very surprised because you guys are bearing down hard on our state of North Carolina. Tell us.
You're so very kind. Our website is aim.org, AIM.org. We're active on every social media platform. We're releasing another hidden camera investigation from a neighboring Red State University tomorrow, almost neighboring, I should say, Red State University tomorrow. We have plenty more coming out next week and a heck of a lot more coming from North Carolina. And one thing that I was actually pleasantly surprised about, when we revisited many of those universities, we saw some of them were still up to the same old tricks. Others had closed up shop. And initially, our investigator was disappointed she didn't get anything. And then we realized, wait a second, that's a massive win.
Total win, and we're so proud of you for doing it. We thank you as North Carolinians, and we would love to help you any way we can. Come back anytime you want, Adam.
You ladies are fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Always.
Thank you. Well, I want to tell everybody good night, and we'll see you Thursday night. We've got several candidates. In fact, we might be talking about this. We've got a doctor who is on, and I love to talk about DEI and healthcare. So don't miss it. It's going to be an election special Thursday. Make sure you share this with 10 people. Or else I'm going to guilt you, and I'm going to find you, and I'm going to guilt you. She's good at it.
She's really good at it.
I'm a Jewish mother. I'm very good at guilt. So you share this with 10 people. It's a very important show. Have a great night, guys. Stay safe, and bye-bye.
That's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or even if it made you mad, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Until next time, keep the faith, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is NC Political Tea, where we spill it like it is.